Are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have a magnificent guest with us today, one who is going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than the martial arts expert himself, Brother Tyrone Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Yes, sir. And on behalf of myself and family and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast, we want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come have a conversation with us today, sir.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate you having us, and definitely greetings to you and to your family. And I definitely, it's an honor for you to have me on your show.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Well, the first question that we have for you is, when did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
So I first heard the teaching back in the early 90s, right around 1992. And what happened, I was in a rap group called Al Capone and the Untouchables. So
Okay.
this was during the era of time with the great Naughty by Nature, with Tretch, um, some of the greatest, fiercest MCs at that time, Tribe Called Quest, Grand Poobah. So some of the greats were going at that. Of course, Public Enemy and the S1Ws and Chuck D and all of the brothers. So we had a rap group, but our DJ was a member of the Nation of Islam. His name was, we called him Brother Trey X. But Brother Trey was not only a martial artist, kickboxer. He was this was before MMA and all of those things. Brother Trey was the bad man, what we call bad man at that time.
Okay.
So each city had a bad man, and Trey was the bad man of Alabama. We had another brother from my area that was a bad man of Columbus, Georgia. That was Tarhead, we used to call him. But so those brothers, Trey was actually a registered member in the Nation, and he was our DJ in the rap group. So every rap group, MCs had to have a great DJ at that time. So, but I noticed that because he was a member of the Nation of Islam, he never indulged in things that other people were doing, that they do in the music business, drinking and all of that kind of stuff. He never done those things. He only shared wisdom with us, and he introduced us as a group to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that was my first. We heard Public Enemy when Chuck D would say, "Follower of Farrakhan, don't tell me that you understand until you hit a man." But we recited those things, but we never knew what they mean, who Minister Farrakhan was at the time. We just would say the words, not even knowing that we were subconsciously being worked on, by the teachers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And when we finally got an opportunity to go to the mosque, here in the city of Columbus, student minister Mikhail Muhammad was the minister, and we got a chance to hear. Out of the group, I was the only one that stayed the course, and here I am 30 some odd years later, still a member of the Nation of Islam and following the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and a believer.
Yes, sir. Beautiful. Yes, sir. And shout out to the DJ who introduced you, and shout out to Brother Mikhail as well. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And people are showing you love all around the world. Thank you all very much for everyone who was watching. There we go. Boom. My next question is, how did your family and friends feel about you accepting the teaching?
Well, family and friends are always normally the first challenge, I believe, in the Nation of Islam. So, of course, I came up in down here in the dirty South. So most of my family was members of the church. So they were mostly Baptists. And I had an uncle who was a preacher in the Church of God in Christ. And so they were non-receptive in the beginning. However, I was a fighter. So I was always fighting. And my mom used to always say, if you want to fight, you need to go in the army, But since I was fighting, I stayed, I was getting in a little trouble at that time. But when I started going to the mosque, those things subsided. So they knew that they didn't really know much about it, but they didn't want me to do anything other than the normal going to church on Sunday and on Easter and those things. But they realized that it pulled me out of a life that was going nowhere. And I would probably, if it weren't for the Nation of Islam, I probably wouldn't even be talking to you right now.
Mm. Yes,
Praise.
sir. And assalamu alaikum, Sister Miriam. Walaikum salam, Sister Naima. Thank you all for always watching and showing love. People are sending Brother Tyrone love. What
Praise.
advice would you give to other young people who are the same age as yourself at that time when you had to make the decision about why it's good to um, leave the street life?
Well, I would to the youth today. I deal with youth a lot, much now more than ever because I work in and out of the juvenile detention center and in the juvenile justice system. And what I found is that we are missing something in our youth. And during my generation, when we came up, we always had the next generation that would thump us in the head, and they would check us when we were going astray. But nowadays, we almost missing a generation because we don't have that influence of that generation. So it's forming the gap that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talked about in his discussion with Brother Jabril, because for us to have change, then the minister said we got to have growth and then transition. So to the youth, I would tell you, go to a mosque meeting, get with the brothers that you see with the papers on the corner, have a discussion with those brothers, because we are here to help guide our communities. But many times I had a group just yesterday at the dojo, and there was a fairly large group of youth, ranging anywhere from 5 years old all the way up to 14 years old, and our youth is missing something. We got this new generation where we on Instagram and Facebook, and we on, but we're not being able to plug into that class of elders that needs to be the guide to show us, hey, this is what we need to do next. So we kind of missing that. So a lot of the history that we have been through is being lost right now. So I would say to the youth, get with your brothers and sisters that's living, you know, and get with us and talk and just have that conversation. And that there's a flip side to that, brother Josh, that says that we, as the elder statesmen now, as I get up in age, it's time we have to stop making it as if our youth is at fault without stepping in and asking the question, hey, what's going on? Talk to me, So I would say that would be it's the two sides to that sword.
Yes, sir. Beautiful. And thank you. And man, powerful teaching. And thank you very much to Brother Vincent. He said, Assalamu alaikum, black God, scientists, caliphs, imams, and leaders.
Wa alaikum salam.
Be born and be blessed. Praise be to Allah. Same to you, sir. Can you put us into the city? You accept the teachings. Who were the laborers? What was the climate like when you joined?
Wow, so we talking early '90s. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had began a few years earlier than that to rebuild the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. So this time during the early '90s, we talking uh, Public Enemy, we talking conscious rap, we talking music has really taken over and started changing the minds of our youth and of our people. So during that time, the energy was high. And as your father being one of the original creators of the Dope Busters, we gravitated towards seeing those things. So when we would see Grandmaster and now Dr. Abdul Aziz Muhammad, also known as Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad, take a shotgun and just is national news tweet and take the shotgun away from the dope dealers. And we took over Mayfair Mansion during that time, and it changed the diaspora, what we had going on. Menace to Society was out at that time, and the killing had started start to take effect. And then, of course, shortly after that, we moved right into that era where we went into the Million Man March. So during those times, it was to be a member, and even now to be a member of the Nation of Islam was a big thing, because back then if you came out on the block and you ain't have knowledge yourself, nobody ain't even talk to you. Just
Mm.
you was nobody, right? It was all about having some knowledge to kick on, in the neighborhood. If you couldn't talk knowledge yourself, then nobody wanted to talk to you.
Mm. Powerful. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Now, how did you get into martial arts?
Well, again, I was a fighter coming up, even as a little shorty. So when I was a little boy, I always, we had Black Belt Theater, we had Shaw Brothers. There was a lot of martial art movies that were out during the time. And in our community, we couldn't afford martial art. So what happened, I started being around martial artists, like Tarhead, Trey, seeing those martial artists, and they always had big names in the community. And I had the opportunity to train with my first grandmaster. His name was Dr. Raheem Ali Gardner.
Mm.
And he studied under the Black Dragon, Ron Van Cleve, under the
Mm.
Goju system of martial arts. So at that time, you had Bruce Lee, who was the dragon, and Ron Van Cleve was the Black Dragon. In fact,
Mm.
Bruce Lee named him the Black Dragon. And that, New York, some of those big cities, Virginia, some of those areas had big martial artists, but there was only three martial artists that you studied under during those times. That was Dr. Moses Powell, who was Ron Van Cleve's first teacher,
Mm.
and also known as Doc. And then you had Cjo, Steve Muhammad. Those names, of course, you had Jim Kellys and all of those, but for us, it was, Doc, Ron Van Cleve, and Steve Muhammad, and
Mm.
so as a young boy, I started gravitating. I went to the dojo, couldn't afford it. And so my mom used to tell me, if you want to fight, you need to go in the military. You need to go down there to Gardner. That was Grandmaster's name. And so I started going out with Grandmaster Gardner. He took me in and he started training. But at that time, I told him I'm going to be your best student. And he
Mm.
said, you know how many people walk in these doors and tell me that? Get on the floor, and he just started teaching me. And then from there, I went on, later on, I joined the Marine Corps, and in there I learned what we call line training, which was another form of jujitsu. And the system actually came from Doc. And
Mm.
and it was introduced to the Marines, and we were able to start getting into the jujitsu side of the martial arts. So probably around 9, probably even earlier than that, probably 7, 8 years old, I started getting into the art. And I started out at the YMCA doing boxing, and we
Mm.
had a free boxing service at the Y. And I was into the boxing thing, and I did boxing until the instructor quit, and then I got into martial art and been doing it ever since.
Praises due to Allah. Yes, sir. Now, how can we support you? Where are you located? Do you do virtual? How can we assist?
So, Brother Josh, it's kind of amazing the way Allah has blessed me with the martial art. So, uh, I was talking to you a little earlier. When I left here back in 2005. I left the United States and I went into the Middle East. And as you know, I got a job over there paying pretty decent money. And when I got there, I opened up a martial arts studio.
Mm.
And when I opened the studio up, I was there. I taught for 14 years in
Mm.
in the state of Kuwait. And since I did that, before I left here, I was teaching, in the school district. I was teaching an after school program, and I had 32 schools in the after school program. And Grandmaster had me
Mm.
go in, and I would set the schools up and get the students going, and then I would move to the next school. But when I went overseas, I opened my studio up, and with his support, I ran the school for 14 years. And
Mm.
during that time, I picked up international students. It's a little different when you step outside of the United States. Everybody want to fight the master. So, you'll get people walking in off the street. and they just want to fight the master. And so you got challenges, but I ended up getting with the discipline that I learned in the FOI. I was able to win over the minds of the people outside of the country. And now I have students in Kuwait. I have students, international students. My school is Columbus Karate Academy International, or we say CKA International. And I have students virtual. I have students here in the city of Columbus. And we're beginning to create a network in the state of Georgia that I don't want to go too far into because we haven't gotten all the approvals yet on where we need to get them from. But I did talk to who I need to talk to with Grandmaster Abdul Aziz and, giving him some of what I was thinking. But I think we're going to have a good impact in the state of Georgia as pertaining to the martial art. So I've teamed up with Albany and Mosque 100, keeping it 100 down there with Student Minister Aaron Muhammad. And he's come up and trained at my dojo here. And he said it brought tears to his eyes because he could see the love and the spirit of the dojo is there. So I just left a few weeks ago. I was in Nashville with Dr. Aziz and some of the brothers in Nashville. We trained there, and then up in Atlanta, I was there about 2 weeks ago with the meeting of the masters with Grandmaster Abdul Aziz and Cjo Steve Muhammad. Man, we had some of the greatest. We had Cjo Cradle, Dr. Holyfield, and it's just a host of grandmasters that were there, and we all had the opportunity to train together. And it's like, for me, martial arts is a way of life, so it's what I do.
Beautiful. All praises to Allah. You teaching, and He will bear witness. Sister Naima says, all praises to Allah. What a blessing. And thank you to everyone around the world who is watching. We have a brief 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast. We are grateful for every like, share, and subscription. Thank you to every anonymous Cash App. Please let us know which city you all are watching. Thank you all very much. We're coming right back to our brother Tyrone. And man, this is great. Great history. Shout out to we are live with the People's Podcast. Street Premiere Media Production. He has a 4K camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. Please reach out if you need any of that. Sister Naima, Stay On Point Dance Academy. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country. Sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ. My two books, Cleopatra, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are available on Amazon. All right, 1 second. Thank you all very much. Sister, definitely gonna have sisters. They be texting me like, Josh, camera angle. Okay, boom. Perfect, brother Tyrone.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Columbus, Georgia again. Also, S Enterprise, Barber and Beauty Products. It's a plant-based brush wave website, kosherwave.com, 770-997-6000. That's 770-997-6000. Brother Jeffrey Searcy Muhammad, to Stephanie Lasan Muhammad. Make sure you go out and get your kosher brush. Okay, yes, sir. Our next question for you, Brother Tyrone, is fear. Have you ever been faced with fear? And if so, how have you overcome that fear?
Absolutely. I would say every time we step on the mat, there's some fear there. Because I believe if you don't have some fear there, then you'll start getting disrespectful. And when you start getting disrespectful, people start getting hurt. And when people start getting hurt, and they may even lose their lives. So there's always fear when you step on the mat. You never know what's coming, right? And when I'm on the mat, I try to just be humble, and even though I know what I know, I never get to the point where I overdo. Grandmaster Aziz told us something in Nashville, to be careful not to overdo things. So sometimes we have a tendency to, when we do things, we go overboard. Many times we see a lot of schools, they come and they get on the mat and they don't know what they're doing, and somebody gets hurt. That's why you have a lot of schools, and especially jujitsu school, they'll come and then they'll disappear because somebody got hurt and they had to shut down and leave the city. So I would say the fear is always there, but it's always you have to just call on to God and do what you do, because that's the only way to overcome it.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. Now, you spoke earlier about being married for quite some time. Can you let us know what advice you would give to future husbands?
The advice I always give to husbands is that you have to deal with your wife in a manner that is respectful. Um, there's a there's an old pioneer that told me sometimes you have to treat her like she's a 14-year-old.
Mm, mm,
And for me that was a Jew because see, when you're dealing with wildlife, when a lion comes up to another lion, somebody will back down before they kill each other. So sometimes we have to take the humble position and be the god of the house. Because if we win every battle in the house, then she feels like she's not winning at all. So we got to work together with our spouse. And my wife is actually from Ethiopia, from Addis Ababa,
mm,
Ethiopia. And the culture, since opposites attract, the culture that she brings to the household is one of family. And it fits right into our nation because what we're being taught, they already have those values because they haven't been brought into the uh, transition that we went through to where we lost everything. So they're able to bring it back and we're able to connect because, whenever there's always going to be disagreements. But when you disagree, then we got to be wise enough to take the step back and say, wait a minute, let me hear her side too. And then come, because at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you both have some kind of understanding. Because if you don't, and you just walk around like you the king of the house, then you be the king of the house, but you'll be the king of the house by yourself.
mm.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. Now, 6 children.
Yes,
What
sir.
advice would you give to future fathers, sir?
6 children. I have 6 girls.
Mm,
And this is my second marriage. That's why I can give some advice. So my first marriage, I had 4 daughters that I took care of and raised, and it just didn't work out for us. But then I remarried, and I had two, and we have 2 more daughters.
mm,
Uh,
mm,
but when you have girls are not like boys. Boys, we easy, you know. Thump us on the head, make sure we go in the right direction, we good. But girls need attention. So I would tell the fathers, if you're thinking about fathering a child, do it right. Because what we're having is we dipping in and out of marriages because we're not following the protocol. If
mm,
we follow the protocol of courtship, it works. Because if we get to know someone before we decide to make that final move, it's better for us in the future. If we just jump into something, we don't know what we're getting into. We don't know where that person's been. Do your homework. Find out what that person's been through. Find out if they has some mental situation going on coming up. We got too much going on in our community where we have mental health issues that affect our marriages. And it affects the future of a marriage when you have someone that you don't know what they've been through.
mm,
And if you're not familiar with it, you can get backed in a corner and don't even know how to get out because you won't even know what's going on. But there's something going on that you can't figure out, and it may have something to do with the upbringing. So I would say, if you're planning on looking at her, look at her in a righteous way. Praise be to Allah.
praise be to Allah. Beautiful. Yes, sir. And what has been the greatest trial in your life, Brother Tyrone? And how were you able to overcome that trial?
The greatest trial for me is that I'm having to struggle for being able to overcome people with bad character.
Mm,
Because for me, if your character bad, then I just disassociate. I don't have it. I just move on. I don't even deal with people like that. But I have to humble myself in a way to where I'm able to accept the fact that they lost character. But for me, character is important. I can deal with everything else, attitudes, all that. But if your character bad, it's just something that I have to work on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What about the greatest joy in your life, sir?
The greatest joy is for me is being saved by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't even be here if it weren't me. I wouldn't have been able to uh, travel the world. In fact, I was telling the student minister Mikhail today, my first trip outside of my city was to Chicago to Savior's Day on an
Mm,
airplane. And
mm.
since then, I traveled, throughout the Middle East and Europe, throughout the world, Africa, and throughout the United States with the nation. And I think the greatest joy was being saved by the Savior. Because, like I said, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you and wouldn't have anything of significance to say if it were not for being blessed by Allah uh, coming through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, reaching me down here in a little old city like Columbus. And then
Praise.
being able to represent all over the world. Even in the Middle East, the Kuwaitis there, they say you all are more faithful than us because
Mm.
we grew up in Islam. We pray 5 times a day. We do this, we do that, but you all are more faithful.
Mm.
And in that, it kind of go back to your earlier question. Coming into the Nation of Islam, I never met Minister Farrakhan until he came to Columbus in 1994. But when he came to Columbus, it was May the 5th of 1994. He said that the believers here, we had never seen the minister. Student Minister McCall had seen him, but we had never seen him live. We only heard the audio tape. Back then it was cassette tape.
Mm.
So he said, you all are faithful in Columbus. And then my second meeting with him was on the phone with Dr. Ridgely. And
Mm.
this is why I do what I do right now, because I didn't understand what he was telling me until years later. And he told me that you got to minister unto the people.
Mm.
So, and because it's a strange, not strange, but it was an interesting incident. Uh, Brother Louis Farrakhan Jr., I was, my meeting with the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, when he came to the farm, it was a small group. And I only had a pen from my business. I had a produce market, the Supreme Fresh Produce Market.
Mm.
And I wanted to give him a pen from my market, but I wanted to give it to Louis Jr. to give it to him. And Louis like, no, you give it to him yourself. And then you get that fear that we were talking about a minute ago. You're like, if I walk up here with this pen, brother Mustafa and Joshua, they're gonna take me out. So I walked up, I gave him the greeting, and I gave him the pen as a gift. And the minister is so humble. He looked at that pen and he looked at me and he said, Georgia, that's where it's at.
Mm.
Georgia. And he said, but you got to minister unto the people, brother. And he started talking to the group, and then he turned back and he said, you got to minister. So I'm taking what he told me, which I didn't understand. I was so young. And I'm starting, and I took that as a ministry in the martial art to be able to minister unto our youth and to our people through the art, through the science of martial art. And people who come in contact with what we do in the martial art, Dr. Abdul Aziz, Soke Lil John David, whenever you come in contact with these type of people, you feel a different type of energy in the martial art. It's not walking into a martial art studio and they just try and take your money. Right? You have a different sense of energy that comes with being in a studio where somebody actually knows what they're doing and know the craft and they're able to exploit that craft and change human life. Students here, they come, and students that I've had the opportunity to train, They say they TMT, Tyrone Muhammad trained, but
Mm,
they don't realize that it's the God in me that's there for them.
beautiful. All praises to Allah. You teacher, Brett Tyrone? Yes,
Crazy.
sir. And once again, the name of your studio, I mean, the name of your dojo.
It's Columbus Karate Academy International. So there's a Columbus Karate Academy here with my grandmaster, Dr. Gardner, but mine is the international. So I'm Columbus Karate Academy International. It's you'll see the emblem on Facebook and on Instagram, and if you like, I can get it to you and we can post it, so people can look further into what we're doing.
All praises to Allah. And what style do you teach, sir?
My mother style is Chinese Goju-Ryu.
Mm.
I also have almost 7th degree in Shaolin Goju,
Okay, okay.
and I also studied Saizen Goju, which is an international art, and that's all the I'm a part of Saizen Goju International Martial Art, and of course VSK. So I'm back in the United States. I got back in the country about 2 years ago, about almost 3 years ago. And so I've been on the path with VSK for years, staying in communication, but watching videos and just trying to stay abreast. But finally got an opportunity to train with the Grandmaster and Dr. Abdul Aziz Muhammad, and it was just wonderful. Also, I trained with the Cijo, one of his students, Brother Willie Muhammad, one of his black belts from
Mm.
LA. He was here in the city of Phoenix City, which is not far from here. Years ago, we were training together, and we got invited by the CJO to come to. And many don't know about this, and it's not talked about much for some reason. But the CJO Steve Muhammad was honored at Clark University during Black History Month, and we got invited up uh, to the event, and we went to his house, and of course his wife cooked some bean soup because he's vegetarian. All he eats is bean soup. And we sat and he gave us like we were talking earlier about the youth and the adult gap. He mentored us into understanding that, for example, he don't talk about. I mean, it's not talked about. He told us about him battling with Chuck Norris, and
Mm. Yes, sir. Yes,
he
sir.
won 4 times. And he taught us and these masters, all of us have a different mindset. We don't mind teaching, and they're saying each one teach one.
Yes, sir.
So he taught us the art of the invisible fist, and by him doing that was just to see him at work and to see him having the fastest hands in the world. We can like it's always said, to know a man you got to fight a man. And when he showed us the art of the invisible fist, he got the fastest hands in the world. So, just
Yes,
a
sir.
big shout out to the CJO and
Absolutely.
Dr. Abdul Aziz Muhammad.
Praise be to Allah.
Much
Beautiful.
respect.
Yes, sir. And thank you to everyone who's watching. Thank you, Brother Frank. Walaikum salam, sir. And thank you to Sister Miriam and Sister Naima for your great advice and great questions in the comments. Brother, what do they call you? Do they call you Master, Grandmaster, Brother Tyrone?
They
What's the
they call me a number of things. They call me brother.
mm.
Some people call
I'm saying,
me.
what's the title though? Is it
They,
professor?
they
Like
call me grandmaster, professor.
Grandmaster? Okay, yes, sir. We're gonna be respectful. Yes, sir. Grandmaster.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. All right. Our next question is, what is your favorite album of all time, sir?
Oh my, you had to do that, right? Favorite all time? Wow, it's hard because what comes to mind is Criminal Minded.
Okay,
There
okay.
is one. But then I can't forget Big Daddy and man, it's so many. 360 by Brand Nubians. But I would say Criminal Minded and Fear of a Black Planet would be up there, the
Okay,
top two
okay,
for me.
okay.
Mhm. Public
Yes,
Enemy.
sir. So now, Criminal Minded, is this with the song that goes like one dot of the bang, one dot of the bang,
Right,
hey,
right. That's it.
go bang. Okay, okay, yes, sir. That's a
But
great.
But the thing, once you're in the music industry, you don't. It's not just one genre of music because even now I have a connection in Houston with Nine Ether Production, and I'm still into the business somewhat, because we got a music maestro out there, and
Okay, okay.
we call him Nebu, but he's a studio master, when it comes to
Mm.
beats and putting together sound. He's another Dr. Dre, but yeah, different styles of music. I listen to everything, but all time for me is gonna be Criminal Minded by KRS-One.
Can't go wrong. It's a classic album. Yes, sir. And brother Grandmaster Tyrone, what would you like your legacy to be, sir?
The legacy that I'd like to leave is just be a brother. You know, that's it for me. And I tell the FY, of course, I'm lieutenant here, former secretary here from years back. You had our former national secretary on not long ago, and I had the opportunity to serve with him,
Mm.
Brother Kamal Muhammad.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Great opportunity, and just listen to his story. I didn't know at the time, but I worked closely with him whenever I came to Chicago. And I took the post serious. They used to call me the warrior secretary
Mm.
because, you're losing a hand or a neck messing around with the nation money. So, with that, but now as a lieutenant training, teaching and training the private soldier, it's, I say my legacy is I just want to be a brother. So anybody that come in contact with me, I try to lead them with something, something of brotherhood, not nothing else. Trying to make I'm nothing without my people. So I just want to lead that brotherhood. That I want to scar them with brotherhood. So whenever they see another brother, they'll carry that on.
All praise to the Allah. Yes, sir. And thank you, sir. And on behalf of, well, first of all, on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of People's Podcast, we salute you, sir, and thank you for all of the sacrifices that you've made to help establish Islam, not only here in North America, but all over the world. We salute your family. Thank your family for their sacrifice as well. Shout out to Columbus. And man, we're rooting for you. And we can't wait to see some more of your students. And I look forward to inshallah, one day learning some techniques and some training from you in person, inshallah.
Praise be to Allah, and just thank you, brother Joshua, for having me on. Um, I'm humbled just to be able to with some of the great people you got on here. So I'm just a small brother among brothers, but just thank you to you and the family, and a big shout out to our student regional minister Abdul Sharif Muhammad and the labor staff in the southern region, brother
Salute to
captain, brother
yes, sir.
lieutenants, everybody, and to you for sure. Keep
All
doing
praise
what you're doing, and love to come back whenever if you need me to. So, and
yes, sir.
the door is always open for you. So if you in the area and I'm in the area, or if you're down this way, when I come up towards your area, I'll let you know, and then let's do it.
Let's make it happen. Yes, sir. Yes,
Praise be
sir.
to Allah.
Praise be to Allah. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off of the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. Thank
Thank
you.
you all for watching. Yes, sir. Can't wait to upload to YouTube.